Hello, everybody. Cabin in the woods today. I have got the first 200 pilots drilled. Putting us down here on the right side of the pattern, the smaller of the two cabins. We've got the entire cabin, a little bit of the grass down here, a little bit of the tree line, and into the second primary cabin. And that was 200 pilots. And today I've got a brand new gross of 000 Nequa spirals. Not even open yet, brand new. It's terrible. I ordered these back in March of this year for this project, and I have just been so busy everywhere else, I've not been able to work on it. That is a number 64 drill bit that we use for the pilots on these. Set those aside. If I'm lucky, I won't break any blades today. But that's just wishful thinking. Alright, I'll take me a swallow of Pepsi back here, and we'll be ready to start. I'm going to try to get all 200 cuts done on this live stream. That's a lot of cuts, but they're all small cuts. Let's see how this goes. I'm going to try doing some top feeding on these. always slower trying to top feed, but we're in no hurry on this piece. That's why I don't like top feeding. I don't always hit that clamp very good. But that blade did not break. Other reason is I gotta actually look for. I did kink that blade a little bit down there though. You actually gotta kind of pay attention because as you're top feeding, you might end up throwing that blade through one of your air ports down there. So the more you get cut out, the easier it is to see your center hole as you're lining up on this particular tabletop. Seiko has a magnetic table cover, and that does cover those extra ports. But I do not have that magnetic cover on this sole. Five thumbs up. Greatly appreciate the support there. it does definitely make it easier to find your pilot holes when you top feed. You never miss a pilot by top feeding because you're always on your hole. Instead of lifting a piece, digging around looking for it. Top feeding usually just feels awkward for me, so I have always been primarily a bottom feeder, working on big oversized pieces where you end up with high hundreds, if not thousands, of cuts. Every time you lift that piece, you're taking a chance on cracking a bridge somewhere, so it is beneficial being a top feeder. Come on, did I kink it a little bit? Or am I just not over my hole? I did kink that just enough that I'm having trouble getting it in that pilot where I missed that clamp a little bit ago. Come on. Now these nickel blades do have a little more resilience. You saw me just kind of bend that blade over. They are a little bit more forgiving than the Pegasus blades. And the flexibility. But they do not cut as fast as the Pegasus blades. And I did state, hello Steve, hello Herbie. Good to see y'all joining in the chat. I was gonna say something before I seen the chat. Oh, I've got 200 pilots drilled, and when I drew this thing out on the board, I was estimating between 1,000 to 1,100 cuts. I'm still, right now at this point, gonna stay true with that guess, because like I said, just this little section down here is already 200 cuts. And I was saying between 16 to 20 hours cut time. I usually get fairly close with my guesstimating. I think with the deer we cut the other night, I was about 15 minutes off of my guess. At the time Russ jumped in with me on the video feed, I said, I think I've got about 2 more hours cutting, and it ended up being 2 hours and I think 13 or 14 minutes, somewhere in there. That's a lot of cuts in a piece that big. Yes, it is. This is 16 by 20. I think for sure if it doesn't, my turkey I did a couple years ago had 900 in it. How did that deer come out? Well, I've got it sitting right back here behind me. It turned out really nice. I did like in the beginning of the video, I had made mention that I had changed up this little bridge right here a little bit and this main cut, because the more I looked at my original drawing, the more I didn't like it. There it is, all on frame almost. Turn it a little bit, there you go. I don't have a backer done for it yet, only because I'm going to put an 1/8 inch backer on that, and all of my 1/8 inch plywood is buried over here in the corner of the shop where I've been doing all the remodeling out here. And there is about 15 sheets of 1/4 inch on top of it. And I thought I might as well just finish the cabin and back them both at the same time. But yeah, the butter ball I did about 2 years ago, or yeah, I think it'll be 2 years Thanksgiving that I finished it. It had 900, and I think this is going to be quite a few more than the turkey had. I should be out here hanging sheetrock, but I said the other night it's time to chill for a minute. I ain't done no scrolling, and well, I did a little bit back in March, but not enough to really say I've been scrolling in over a year almost. But I finally got to a point where all the actual living requirement makeovers and cleanups and everything were behind us. As far as finishing out the shop, that is not a urgent thing. And the lady's kind of gotten an itch after seeing a little bit of what's going on. She's kind of interested in learning a little bit of this thing. I am excited about that. So there's a good possibility someday y'all might see her out here doing some scrolling. I've got 3 other saws over here set up behind the camera, so we both be having our own little scroll off. Come on. Can't find the clutch. There it is. There it is. That's the other reason I don't like top feeding, because I can't actually see where I'm trying to clamp unless I crawl underneath the saw to look for it. If you're bottom feeding, you're clamping back in the top, you're looking at it eye level. I did miss that one pretty bad a while ago, and I pinched it again. I think we're okay there. Doesn't take much. If you miss that clamp with these tiny little blades, you'll hockey stick the end of it pretty quick. Don't like that tension. Nope, you can see there's a lot of tension that I missed there. I just barely got it in a clamp. And I did. I pinched the end of it. It's okay. That is why I don't like bottom feeding. Or top feeding, I mean. When I top feed, I can actually see the set screws in there, and I know exactly where I need to be. When I set my blade up initially, I will dip my head down to the bottom and actually look at where I'm at. The other thing, if you over tighten that set screw too much, you can also kink that blade over and get that same effect. Hello, Mr. Wade. Thank you. Thank you. He says, take a drink. I didn't break a blade. I just bent it. I do that big time with the blades. It's easy to do, especially if, because you've got two two set screws in these clamps. One on the left, one on the right. This is your primarily tighten and loosen. You got to get that set screw centered up. That's why you do have adjustment screws on the side of the clamp here. But even still, if you set that blade too far back in the clamp, whenever you tighten it up, you still get that same effect. One thing I do like about this clamp system, you can tell when they start wearing out. This actually has, let's see if I can get it to move here. This little tip has an O-ring. It's an insert. And that thing kind of slides back and forth as it wears and tears. And that helps hold that in there. I've got a lot of residue on this thing. I'm going to clean that off real quick. That's a little bit of, there it is. I got it to slide out a little bit. But as you tighten that, that thing kind of slides back down, up and down. Oh, I dropped it. There we go. I saw where it landed. That's an important piece on this clamp. That's what I get for trying to demonstrate, right? Hello, Ross. But there it is. You got an O-ring on the end of that. And that thing, you can see the movement in it now. That helps a lot with this clamping system. I have had to change that out already once on this saw. So that is the second set. You should just be able to kind of hand tighten that, and it holds your tension. When that thing starts wearing out, you'll start feeling it slip. And a lot of people with different types of clamps actually take the set screw off and take a piece of sandpaper and buff the end of it. I don't think the Generals have that. I think I know primarily the Pegasus clamp. I don't know if the Excaliburs and the other clamps are set up this way. I can't remember which ones they are, but I know there's maybe two or three. Mr. Henry, howdy, howdy, howdy. All my wonderful, wonderful friends. And friends. Much love, much love. That is Mr. Larry Allridge. Hello, sir. Glad you could join the show here. But yeah, before I actually understood how that little piece right there worked, the first one started wearing out on me and it was giving me fits and I was getting frustrated with it. And somebody actually pointed me in the right direction with that thing. And I said, oh, well, when I bought this saw, there was two extras of those in the little goodie bag that came along with it. So I opened that little goodie bag up and changed those two little inserts and 100% solved my issue. But I have done that quite a few times with the old Dremel clamps. They're just an Allen set screw. From time to time, I'd pull those set screws out and buff the ends of them with a piece of 80 grit sandpaper and keep it trucking. There we go. Larry says Excalibur, Seiko, Win, maybe? I think that's about it. I can find my clamp down there. That would help us. I was thinking there was two or three different saws that accommodated that particular set screw. All your rowdy friends are coming over tonight. That's right, that's right. We're missing the rowdiest of all. He's probably still asleep. I haven't been awake very long, but I slept as long as I could. And that first night, it actually went really fast. And at the end of that shift, I said, man, I should be working nights all the time because that 8 hours just flew by. Maybe it was because I didn't have nobody bothering me, but I didn't say that. I did get home about 6:30 this morning. Took me a shower, got cleaned up. It was about 8:30 when I finally laid down into bed. Took me a little nap till I guess it's about 2:30 this afternoon. So I think I need to go play in the shop. Who is that, Charles? Yes, I was referring to Charles. He is pretty rowdy. Yep. Home of the Happy Hardware place. I am not. I left Ace. It was a year ago in August, the first part of August. So I guess 13 months. Went to work for a little company there in Pearland doing residential remodeling, and which I've always kind of done a little bit of that on the side, little handyman jobs here and there, and that guy knew that I did all those side jobs and whatnot, but it just started becoming a little bit too much of a conflict of interest on his part. And I just finally said, I'm going to hang my hat and move along. And it all worked out because I've known that guy for years and years, and the guy I'm working for now, I've known him just as long. But I'm actually doing commercial maintenance now. So it's definitely changed the pace, but I've enjoyed the remodeling stuff and this as well. When I was trying to work, those is for the birds. Night shift. It is very different. Um, Definitely not a full time gig that a family man would really want, but get a little bit extra compensation for it. So, and it's just a here and there. We got 5 technicians that kind of alternate that shift. So, and it's not really a regular shift. It's just most of what we do is during business hours, but there is occasional big fixes that we'll have to do at a restaurant or some other kind of little business that you can't do that during operating hours. So we just shoot in there at night while the store is shut down and take care of things. There, I can't find the clutch again. There it is. And it does require some adjusting to go from a day job to that night shift. And that was the reason I come out here Sunday night. I said I didn't want to go to bed Sunday night and wake up and be awake all day and then try to go work a night shift. And I did miss one right there in the middle. I just noticed. I have a cut that did not get drilled a while ago. That's okay. We're going to leave it for right now because I do still have 200 pilots drilled. As long as we don't forget to finish that up before we sand all the pencil marks off at the end, we'll be alright. Come on now. Now it slipped out the top. That was a little better. I have to limit my time. Stay safe and blessed. Prayers for everyone. Thank you, sir, and you take care. I got Shop Dog running around at my feet picking up all the little pieces that fly out of here. Act like I don't feed her. And by the way, when you see me pick up one of those pieces and drop it over here, I do have a 5-gallon trash bucket off to the side. I'm not just throwing them in the floor. But sometimes one of those little pieces will jump out and fall on the floor. Hee ha hee ha ha ho. There we go. I think the dog bumped the camera a minute ago, and I didn't look at it. And I will say, there's a lot of these cuts that I could have got away with a 00, but I opted for the triples for several reasons. Number one is because they are so close together. These Nikwa 000s are quite a bit. I don't like to use the word aggressive. Most of y'all know that. But these teeth are really in line with each other, so they produce a really smooth cut. I don't get a whole lot of fuzzies on the backside. You still get some. But with the Pegasus blades, those teeth are kind of offset a little bit. And they make a little bit rougher cut. And that's where most people call those aggressive blades. They're just a very fast cutting, very sharp blade. And if y'all seen where I broke the bridge on that deer the other night, part of that was greed on my part because I got greedy and rebridged it from the original pattern. And I wasn't paying attention. I was holding the piece out here on the edges, but I already had a great big cut out around it, and it slapped the table as it came around. That's the other thing, you don't get as much slap with these teeth that are really set in line with each other. But they do cut slower because of that. And the final reason I opted for that 000 is in these little lines that are really close together. As I'm cutting, if I do kind of veer off from my pencil mark a little bit, I don't have that bigger curve that is going to put me into the cut next to it. potentially. Not that I usually veer off that bad, but these cuts are, some of them, really, really close together. So with that bigger curved blade, you take a bigger chance of getting into a cut that you don't want to. I mean, with these, I can completely let go of that piece, and it's not moving. Even if I start and stop that saw. There's some spiral blades out there that you better not do that, because it's going to grab that wood and start walking in spots you don't want it to go. And I do see, just for future reference, that's the one we missed. Forgot to drill that one. I not really forgot, but I just straight up missed it. I'm just going to color that in a little bit, so that later on down the road I remember to come back and drill that pilot. Now I could also, while I'm here, that's a pretty good bridge. 1, 2, 3 bridges around that, and potentially 5, because there's 2 cuts on the bottom side of it. I could cheat a little bit since I missed that pilot and just go ahead and cut me a straight line into that and go ahead and cut it out, if I so desired, and just eliminate that extra cut. I don't want to do that on this particular piece, just because I want to get the maximum number of cuts out of it that were originally put into it. I have already eliminated what I guess to be probably 300 to 400 cuts by adding a little bit of skyline up here to the original pattern. And actually I've eliminated even more than that, because there was a lot of teeny tiny, just, little pinhole circles up in all the tree line that I opted not to put in there. So I potentially could have knocked another probably 5 to 600 cuts out of this pattern. Part of the reason for that is Charles designs these patterns and he cuts them out at great big scale. And when you shrink it down to smaller sizes, you can't quite get that detail without getting into other cuts. It just Anybody that's been scrolling long enough kind of knows what I'm referring to there. And that's what I tell people when they talk to me about doing a portrait. They want something on an 8x10 scale, and I try to stay away from an 8x10 because you lose so much detail versus 11x14 or 16x20. And that's me. The bigger I cut these pieces, the more detail I can put into somebody's face or their dog or their cat or whatever we're doing a portrait of. Especially if there's more than one person or animal in that picture. That is not enough tension. We are just a few cuts away from having an entire wall done. And we've grown a little bit of grass down there in the corner. Right. We have a wall. A tiny wall, but we have a wall. There you go. Now we can all take a drink. 1 hour and 7 minutes on that first blade. I knew that was going to happen pretty soon. I could start feeling it was slowing down on me. Having to push a little harder on the wood. So here's blade number 2. And the sad part is my cup's empty. I gotta go get something to drink. Oh yeah, we're just sliding again. Alright, folks. Take a little breather. I'm gonna run inside here and find me something to drink. I'll be right back. Alright, I'm back. Oh, too much pepper. Excuse me, excuse me. What, you ready to go back in or what? Hmm? All right, come on. House dog. He ain't no shop dog. There, I went to hockey stick that blade again. I noticed a little bit down there on the bottom. Chris Nealon. Not much detail in that pattern. There's really not much detail that got left out. Just a 30-minute cut. An hour and 19 minutes into it. Let me try to straighten that back out a little bit real quick. That's better. You almost can't even see that on the camera. But there's a blade there, I promise. I am gonna have to, though, get the shot vac hooked back up to this dust port before too long, or my shop's gonna be full of sawdust again. I've got still the original boot. There it is down there from when I had the old shop vac plumbed in. But my new shop vac is a bigger hose, and that's just a rubber boot clamp. And I have this is actually icebox water line tubing. Drilled a hole in the side of that plastic port, ran that vinyl tubing through there, so I'm actually sucking from the bottom dust collection port and through the little tube when it's hooked up to the shop vac. And that is what you see up top here with the air hose. That just runs underneath the bottom side of the saw up the back and loops around and is zip tied. So when I'm running the shop vac, I just slide that down past my air port, move that up so it's pointed away, so I'm sucking dust off the top and the bottom. Real cheap, easy fix. I say cheap, ain't nothing cheap anymore. want to say that roll of vinyl tubing came like maybe 10 or 12 foot. When I bought it, it probably cost me about $10. That rubber boot cost me $3 or $4. And then that plastic sleeve is probably the most expensive. I don't remember now. It's probably around $10 or $12. But it does work. The first night I experimented with it, found that it was picking up. I would say 90 to 95% of the sawdust that was dropping above and below the table. Right now I got the shop fan blowing on me, so it's actually blowing all the sawdust off the table underneath into the floor. But I'm gonna have to do something out here with the shop vac, because the lady likes to do canvas painting, and I told her she could use my shop for that, but it's full of sawdust. That'll ruin a painting pretty quick. Bent that blade again. See, I have heck when I try to top feed. I just are no good at it. I don't want to give the wrong idea, but part of that problem is, or could be, the fact that these are spiraled all the way to the end, which does tend to give you trouble with the clamp at times. But some of it is still, oh, I didn't even get in the clamp. User error. Another wonderful tip for anybody that uses the carbon paper to transfer their pattern, especially a piece with very little detail like this one. Once you get it all transferred, if you notice, your carbon, as you're moving around on this table, moving your hands, loves to smear and will distort on you. So very much like I would do with a pastel chalk, once I get it transferred, I spray the entire piece with hairspray. Hairspray actually locks that or seals the carbon and will keep you from smearing it as you're moving it around. Especially if you can't work on it all at one time and get it completed, where it's going to be sitting for long periods of time. You don't have to worry about it fading out. Nothing special, just cheap hairspray you get at the dollar store. Even just aerosol can or even the squirt can, just lightly mist the entire piece and that will seal the carbon onto the wood. And once I'm completely finished cutting, because I transfer, if there's any pencil marks or anything still on it, I run my palm sander over it lightly just to knock those pencil marks down. And that also takes off all the hairspray residue. Back into the actual wood to allow you to put whatever finish on it that you're going to clear coat or stain or whatever you're using. I will say at this point, I haven't counted the actual cuts, just the pilots that I drilled, and that was 200. But I'm going to say we're probably coming up on about 70 or 80 cuts at this point at an hour and 33 minutes. I did miss the trash can that time. I threw that one straight in the floor. Get that picked up and take a drink. One more difference that I primarily do on my pieces than most people, and I did it with the deer. I like to leave a half-inch border on my wood along the outer edge. That way I have a little bit of wood that protrudes the frame. A lot of people actually bring their cuts past the frame. I like to see that extra little bit of border all the way around, typically, but I altered a little bit on that deer head so that the edging along the bottom right corner of the cactus will actually sit flush with the frame. I'm I'm still not sure I like it. I'm really kind of wishing I had left a little bit of border, but it might change once I get the dark backer behind it and really see how it's going to look. But it's a little too late to worry about it now because I done cut it. There is a half-inch border on this piece. Due to the lack of detail in this pattern, there's going to be some cuts that take longer to change the pilot around than it does to make the cut. If we can even get it in there. Slipping. All right. There's the bottom corner-ish. Now we go out that little section right there left. Right there. We might be about halfway now in that 200 cuts. Still on blade number 2 for right now. And at an hour and almost 50 minutes on blade number 2, I think at this point on that deer using those double zeros, we'd probably already broke, I'm going to say at least 3. Now the Pegasus blades, as far as the sharpness, if you can keep from breaking them, will outlast these Nikwa blades. But they're not as flexible as these blades are, which potentially make these blades seem like they last longer. Mr. Larry is back. Thanks, everyone. I have a leather project I'm working on, too. Good deal, good deal. Glad you made it back to the show. We're almost finished now, Mr. Larry. Just kidding, just kidding. Almost finished with the bottom corner of the first cabin. Working on the top half of the fireplace and a little bit more of the roof line. And we got a little bit up into the trees. And then a few little pieces of the primary cabin roof line drilled out. For a total of, right now, we have drilled 200 pilots. Well, a 2-aught blade work, a stack cut of 3/16 ply. It will potentially. Shouldn't have any trouble other than my first question is going to be what brand of blade are you using? I think, if I'm not mistaken, you are probably a Flying Dutchman user. Three sixteenths is probably what this 1/4 inch I'm cutting on right here is closer actual measurements to. Same thickness that Charles is using on his double stacks, but he cuts with a number 5. Yes, indeed. Um, I can't remember. Yes, I have. I double stacked Charles's that big fish, that bass pattern a couple years ago, and I did double stack that with these 1/4 inch plies, and I cut that with a 00. Now the double, and it is Baltic birch. Okay, Baltic birch is going to be a little bit denser than this. This is not a MDF core. It is true ply. So it'll be about the same as this stuff. So you should be all right with a double stack on a 00 blade. Uh, if you're got a lot of pattern in your detail, a lot of detail in your pattern, you might want to slow down a little bit. That'll help you as far as the blades staying together. But a 00, I wouldn't try to stack any thicker than 2 on those. I think sometimes Charles has done a triple stack, but primarily he's just a double stacker. And actually, now that I think about it, I guess we're coming up on 2 years. Might be 3 years now. I can't remember. I think it's probably this November will probably be 3. I did a triple stack on this maple ply, if I'm not mistaken. I will have to go back. It was either this maple ply or it was Baltic birch when I did the memorial of little Abigail. I did a triple stack with those, and I want to say I used a 00 on those. Right now I'm using a 3/0 blade Flying Dutchman. That's pretty much what these are. Reach across here. 000 Niqua, which when they are manufactured in Germany, their name is Niqua. When they come over to the States, they change the name to Flying Dutchman, but that is the same blade, 3/0. And that is a gross blade right there, which is 144 blades that I got just for this project. And I want to say that ran me with shipping. I want to say $30 to $38. They've been sitting here in the shop since March, waiting for this piece to be cut. But like it's even doing a single stack of this 1/4, which is really a 3/16 with a 000. I think my first blade broke just a little over an hour, and this is still blade number 2, coming in at almost another hour. But you never know. I mean, you might run one of these 000. I think the best time I ever got with one of these blades was almost 2 hours or almost 3 hours. I don't remember now, but I was impressed. And then it finally broke. I set the very next one up, and I got one cut out of it. You really never know from blade to blade. I know I've done triple stacks of 1/8 inch Baltic birch with a 000, no problem. Can't get maple ply locally. And they say they have to buy so much when I would order, have to buy it all. That is probably true. A lot of places um, wholesale only buy it or only sell in bulk to the retailer, and if they don't stock it, they're probably going to make you buy their entire shipment. Which, if you had the money, that'd be great. We got into that from time to time at Ace, depending on the actual material. But I was able to get 1/8 inch, 1/4 inch, and 1/2 inch full sheet 5x5 Baltic birch from one of our close by vendors, and I could order one sheet at a time, primarily on the 1/2 inch because we did keep that in stock. But the 1/8 inch or 1/4 inch, I could buy one sheet or 10 sheets or whatever. I know I'd buy a sheet or two for myself, and I had several close by friends that would call me out and say, "Hey, give me a sheet of that." They'd come pick it up. So that does help when you can get vendors that'll sell to the retailer one or two sheets at a time. But otherwise, it makes it hard on you. And I do not like that tension. I saw it try to walk. This maple was the same way. Maple, walnut, cherry, hickory. I could get cedar plywood also. You talk about some beautiful wood, but for 1/4 inch cedar plywood, it was almost $100 a sheet. So I have yet to have any of that in my shop, and since it is all book match veneer, it really makes it not a good scroll saw wood. If you're going to be cutting portraits or any kind of picture out of it, there's just so much book match grain periodically through that it's just too busy. I can't remember for sure, but a couple of months ago, Charles had ordered a batch of the maple ply with me. I'm not at Ace anymore, but I can still call up there and order it, and they'll order it from the vendor and let me know when it's ready for pickup. But I want to say it was up to $60 or $65 a sheet. I think that was back in early. Oh, it was the first couple of weeks of June. I think he ordered somewhere around 5 sheets. Kink that just a little bit again. Not bad, but there's a little bit there. That's better. 4 or 5 full sheets, 4x8. And then I rip them down on the panel saw to quarter them. End up with the 24x48s out of it. Makes it a lot easier to maneuver inside small shops. Mr. Stephen Denison, hello everybody. How you are, sir? So there it says Marco Tray. Tell you something else that makes some beautiful plywood, and that is mesquite. Hello, old friend, he says. There it is. There it is. I am finally getting around. Look here, look here. I ordered these from y'all back in March, and I'm finally putting them to use. I was kind of scared they was going to be all rusty and break on me because they just been sitting so long. But here I am, 2 hours and 7 minutes. This is blade number 2. I got a little bit of over an hour out of the first blade. So this is the second blade out of that entire gross. Larry says, I guess I run everyone off. Leave it to me to make people mad. Oh, I don't think you run nobody off there, Mr. Larry. If you're talking about the number of viewers here in this live stream, that tends to fluctuate up and down, so no, nothing personal there. Steve Combs says, I'm here, but I'll be right back. All right, Steve, I'll be right here. For a little while longer. And if anybody sees, or I guess you can't see necessarily, but if you hear me reading comments that you do not see on your screen, be advised I am not losing my mind, but I am streaming on Facebook and YouTube, so I have comments coming in from both locations. If you're on Facebook, you will not see the YouTube chat, and if you're on YouTube, you will not see the Facebook chat. There went blade number 2. 2 hours and 12 minutes. And everybody takes a drink. Reach up there and get those blades. So here we go to blade number 3. Not bad, averaging about an hour per blade. So if I stay true to this, on my guesstimation of being a 16 to 20 hour cut, that's only 2 dozen blades. We'll see how this goes. Wes, have you tried marquetry with veneers? It's kind of like intarsia. I have not, Mr. Larry. Have not tried that. I haven't even done any intarsia work in quite some time either. With veneers, though, I'm gonna have to actually look into that. My brain is kind of trying to put a visual in my brain of what it would look like, but I am not familiar with that. He says, I wanted to try monkey tree, but it has cost a lot. You're basically using veneers to make a picture. It's beautiful, more beautiful than intarsia. And when you say layered with the veneers, I'm almost picturing. Knock my tripod around here. Kind of picturing just like different stacks of layers of different types of wood or something along that line. Almost like a cross between intarsia and mosaic. Well, you gotta loosen the blade first before you raise the arm. Can't explain it. Yes, yes. Okay. Kind of what I was picturing. So it's more of, I guess you'd kind of start at the bottom and work your way up to build the picture out of different layers of veneer. And it's possible to use just an X-Acto knife. Okay. Well, it definitely sounds interesting. I will look into that and see what it's all about. Oh. And truth be told, Mr. Larry, I've probably seen some of that work and just not really realized what I was looking at. He says, no, the picture is actually flat. Right, exactly. It is used in high-end furniture. Like you have a flat picture, but you've got a layer of veneer, a layer, but you build it up. But everything's still flat. You're just using different types of wood or veneers to put the picture together, I think. Mr. Leonard Davis over on Facebook says hello. Hello, Mr. Leonard. Glad you could drop by for a minute. over on the YouTube path 1961 says, "Hello, Wes, Larry, Steve, and all." Mr. Larry says, "You can stack cut on a scroll saw. To me, it's wonderful works." Yes, yes, indeed. That is the only way to get 2 or 3 identical pieces on a scroll saw. Mr. Leonard says, "Looks like you have your work cut out for you with this one." Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We had 200 pilots drilled so far. And out of those 200, I have just about this much left down. Actually, I'm pointing kind of high. I'm closer to this line right here. From here down and over into the roof line. So we're getting close to that 200 mark. I'd say right now we probably somewhere around 120, 130 cuts. And I am guesstimating this piece to have anywhere from 1,000 to maybe 1,100 cuts. But I've already decided, because so far the highest number pattern I have cut was one of my designs also, but that was the butterball I did a couple of years ago, and that one had 900. So if this one here doesn't have more than 900 in it, we're going back to the drawing board and we're going to make a few more cuts. Because I gotta keep going up. I can't just stay stuck at 900. But as I said, this was Charles's pattern. I did alter it a little bit from the original and created just a little bit of a skyline up here. The original pattern, if you see up here in the top corner, let me just bring it on camera here. That tree line goes all the way up to the end of the cut, or the end of the board. That is what we are working on. And we almost have the cabin over on the right side completed at this point. And as I said, we have drilled the first 200 pilots over in this right hand corner. We are 2 hours and 36 minutes in. I have guesstimated 16 to 20 hour total cut time on this piece. If it takes less than 16, I will be very surprised. Just because there is so many small pieces, there's a lot of start and stops. I can't sleep too long. No dirty talk. We're live. Hello, hello. It's family show. Come on in, join the fun. I slept as long as I could. Till about 2:30. And my eyes just wouldn't stay. No, I laid down about 8 o'clock or so. Both the dogs stayed asleep too. Both dogs stayed asleep the whole time too. Did I finish sanding it? Yeah. Too much pepper? We got the first 200 cuts drilled. A lot. At least. Oh, Charles Deering has joined the chat. I missed one from Larry. Gotta take a break last Thursday. Had panic attack and passed out 3 times. Well, that's not good. Take you a little break and take it easy there, Mr. Larry. That's from this morning. Alrighty. Yeah. I have not. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the lady of the house talking. Charles, the panel is open if you would like to join us. Link over there in the scroller chat. Just woke up. Well, so did I. 2 hours and 50 minutes ago. I'll kink that blade again a little bit. I need to experiment a little better. They do make a flat-ended spiral, but I don't have those in this 000. I'm sure they would accommodate these clamps a little bit better. I don't know if y'all can see it on the camera because these blades are so thin. I did kink it right about table level. There's a little kink in it. And that was about 4 or 5 cuts ago. And as I was saying earlier, these Nikla blades are quite a bit more resilient and forgiving than the Pegasus blades. Because a lot of times you kink a Pegasus blade like this and you break it as soon as you put tension on it. Sometimes you get lucky and still get a few cuts out of it. Let's see. I don't know if you can see. Yeah, I think you can probably see it on that camera. Right in here. Bent that blade a little bit. And with these, they're so thin, I can usually just straighten it out. No eggs. Dead burned chickens. How do you get that little picture on your screen? Oh, you mean that one? Ain't that pretty? That's Mr. Charles Darren asking that question. That is actually, um, let's see, what I just brought up is in the overlay. So if I do the standard overlay, there's your Streambird. But I just upload the picture to make my own overlay there. And up above, what you're seeing him talk about in that top right corner is the logo. Powered by Streambird. I upload that same image in the logo, and there you are. That way, you kind of get a visual of the piece that I'm working on. Or you can look at that sexy face right there. But most people are probably going to rather see something like that. StreamYard. It will forever, always be Streambird. With that little Aflac duck up there in the corner. Can I say Aflac? I don't want to get no copyright infringements. Russ Meadows, leave the cabin up there. All right. I love you too, Russ. did he say I missed on? Oh no, I did see that. It just jumping around. And I just realized something that has totally nothing to do with this piece. But that deadgum woman didn't walk by and kiss me when she came in here. So I'm going to take a short timeout break and I'll be right back because she's in trouble. All right, that's better. But while I'm up, let's just go ahead and take a drink. Because I don't break blades or anything like that. Or at least a bunch of them. As where are you scrolling from? Garage, extra room. I am actually been deported back to my workshop. It is actually attached to the back end of the kitchen. It originally was just a covered porch back here. Back in the mid 80s was added on, closed in. Um, Actually, right now in all the remodeling stuff I've done, right here where you see that night light and plug and light switch, that was a wall that came all the way across here and divided the laundry room from the work, or they called it a storage area. This back wall here was steel bricks. That is the original soffit up there. They had a drop tile ceiling in here, and that little space right there was where that wall was divided, and the drop tile ceiling was on this side and that side. When I bought the house 6, almost 7 years ago, that was the first project I started on, was tearing all the brick out of this area. It's actually a corner right here. Freezer over there, that was in a corner. So this wall here was brick, and over here was brick. There was a great big window still there, but the window was closed in inside the house. And there was a smaller window back here in the other corner of that wall behind the water heater. And that window was in the middle of the bathtub that overlooked the backyard once upon a time. But I have a water heater go out on me back right before Christmas and flooded the floor in here. It's concrete floor, but it crept over underneath this dividing wall and soaked up a good 12 to 14 inches up the drywall. And I just cut all that drywall out, and I said, you know what, I'm not putting drywall back up here. I'm cutting this wall completely out. And little by little, I did. Pulled all the sheetrock down anyway. And because that was kind of a not important job, the water heater got fixed. And all the other required living arrangement remodels and whatnots took over to accommodate the future mother-in-law moving in and all that fun stuff. Completely remodeled the bathtub in there that was on this wall. Pulled that bathtub out, put a walk-in shower for her. Changed up some of the bedrooms around. I had my saw set up in what is actually the original kitchen of the house, but they had turned the garage, which is this dividing wall where this door is, they turned that into the kitchen and dining room area in the 80s as well, and turned the original kitchen into a study. But there is a pantry closet in there, so technically it could be another bedroom. And that's where I had my saw set up for a couple of years. It was just the extra unused room, other than being a storage closet for quite some time. But it is now a bedroom again. And that's when I got demoted back out here to the workshop. And it's not climate controlled. It was just an addition. There's no insulation in the outside walls other than your 3/4 inch foam insulation behind the sheathing that's underneath the vinyl soffit where they added on. And after the original roof leak showed up during Hurricane Harvey, I'm right here in Alvin, which is 45 minutes from Galveston. Had a roof leak out here in the shop, and in our 58 inches of rain, I had 2 gallons of water come in through the roof. And I searched high and low trying to figure out where that leak was. Couldn't find it. And I had just about decided it was coming in from the ridge vents up at the top of the roof. And because this was an addition, the original covered porch roof line was still here, and they scabbed over that and closed it in with a rafters on top of that, and just roofed completely over the old roof. And I thought, well, if the water's running down the old shingles, it ain't hurting anything. And it didn't leak every time it rained. It was just sometimes when the wind was just right. And that's why I had decided it was blowing in under the ridge vents. But it turned out it wasn't. It was leaking in the top seam where the new roof tied into the old roof. And I just got all that patched up. There's another one right by the back door going into the yard that was leaking in the valley. Like I said, this was kind of the corner of the room here. So I finally got it all patched up, dried in, pulled the old, well, I cut most of the old roof completely out and vaulted the ceiling up to the new roof line. And that raised the front half of my shop up 14 inches. Because it was just a 7-foot ceiling in here with the drop tile. So sometimes trying to do my taxidermy work, you're limited to your overhead space. But raised it up almost 15 inches in the front half. And at the angle it's vaulted at, we were able to raise the back half almost 4 inches. There was no insulation in the ceiling at all. So during the day, it gets about 90 to 95 degrees out here in the shop. And it's only 80 degrees outside, just because you have all this roof line and nowhere to go. So I have now vaulted the ceiling, built a little fur down off the original soffit and fascia that still existed. That will give me, which in fact, let me just raise up here. There's my fur down to accommodate all that. I've got my shop light mounted in a stud up there. That is actually the DeWalt light bar edition, but the light socket broke on me. And instead of throwing that bar away, I have put a halo LED light on the end of that and hung it up above overhead. Got insulation in the ceiling, moved my lights around because the lights were mounted just about where that fur down ends, and they ran this way with the shop, but now they run this way. They're centered a lot better. Converted the fluorescent tubes over to direct wire LED. I have 8 LED light bars in these fixtures now, and still 2 fluorescent over here to the left of me. Oh yeah, she came out of the clamp. She did not break. Still got a little bit of sheetrock to get hung up over on the right side of the shop. And I do now have a portable air conditioner in here. That has helped out tremendously. And eventually I will end up pulling all the vinyl soffit off the outside, because it's getting to be in bad shape. I mean, it's only been here since the late 80s. But when I do that, I will probably get into some bad sheathing, so that'll come down. Um, I know it's just a 7/16 OSB on there, followed by the asphalt board and a thin layer of, it's either 1/2 or 3/4 inch foam insulation. But when we get to that point, I will go ahead and insulate the walls while it's open, just to close it in a little bit more. But at least it is tolerable to be sitting here. I'm not sweating my tail end off. That was the number one reason I moved my saw into that other bedroom inside the house, because I had the air conditioner. Climate controlled scroll saw room. You don't have to go down in the right hole, but it does help. So in the almost 7 years, I've done a lot of work to this house. And 6 inches of floor space doesn't sound like a lot, but that's what I added to this shop when I tore the brick out. Added 6 inches of floor space. I've got a 32 by 96 work table built into the wall, directly behind the camera, in line with the saw here. It starts and then runs to the other end. Not the very end, because over on the very end I've got another 4-foot section of table built in, and that's where I have the fleshing machine for my taxidermy work. There she went. 3 hours and 8 minutes. I am getting right at an hour out of these blades. So that was blade number 3. Bumping up to blade number 4. And everybody in the chat takes a drink. Are you live on YouTube? Also, yes, we are streaming Facebook and YouTube, Charlie. Streaming to both. Charles says, no wonder I couldn't see comments. Yeah, you're in the wrong place. Not very many Facebook commenters. There's been a few, but most of the chat has been over on the YouTube side. So again, for anybody who hears me reading comments but do not see them, that is why. Facebook does not show the YouTube chat, and YouTube does not show the Facebook chat. But streaming to both, I am able to see both chats. Probably down to the last 30 cuts, I'd say. Out of the 200 pilots. Aye. There it is. Finally, the first time out of habit, I've grabbed the top clamp. Yeah. She did not break. She slipped out of the bottom clamp. My dinner is ready. I didn't quite get to my 200. All right. Let me see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43 holes left. I did not quite make my 200 mark, but it's dinner time. So 42 cuts shy of the 200 mark is where we're going to stop for now. And that pours us there. All right. Well, my friends, it is time for me to go. But we'll be back soon enough. If I don't see you before then, good night, everybody. And as Charles would tell you, scroll on.